What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is going to be your review of Chasing Dallas Season 2, Episode 4 or 5. Y'all know I'll have it right in the title. So we start this episode off. We see Reese and Premier meeting up. You know, they had that whole kerfuffle at the game night. And Reese said that Premier actually reached out to him and he was very excited or happy to hear from Premier. He said, you know, that's what real friends do. We have a disagreement, we talk it out, we work it out, we move on. And what we found out when they got a chance to talk was that Premier had been hanging out with Antonio. Now, Antonio is friend to the show. You know, we've seen him in a couple of scenes, but he, doesn't seem to be a main character, but he is good friends with Reese, or at least so we thought. Him and Premier got to hanging out, you know, all that, how that goes. And Premier's version of the story is Antonio showed him text from Reese basically saying, you know, don't let Premier come to your house. Don't let him and his friends come to your house, honey, because they're going to show up and read your house down. Now, Reese said that, Reese never denied he said it. Let's be clear. He never denied he said it, but he was just like, I mean, yeah, I said it was what it was, but like, how did you even see what I said? Because I told Antonio. And Premier told him, look, we were out at the club, we were at a party, he showed it to me. Like, and he said, and then that made me start looking at him sideways, because I was like, isn't that your boy? Aren't you and Reese friends? Like, why are you showing me stuff that was between the two of y'all? So then Reese was like, well, that's interesting, because what he told me was a totally different story. He told me that y'all were at his house and you picked up his phone and looked through and saw the message. Premier was like, that don't even make sense. Like, why would I don't even know him like that. Why would I just be picking up his phone and going through it? And let me be clear. I tend to believe Premier's version of the story because in this day and age, who letting somebody pick up their phone and go through it? Whether you're not letting your mama, your boyfriend, your sister, your teacher, ain't nobody picking up your phone and going through it without your permission. First of all, 99.9% of the time it should be locked. But even if it isn't locked, who does that? Like, to me, that would have been a whole different conversation that we would have had to have. Because it wouldn't be about what Reese said to you. It would be about, how dare you pick up my phone and think you have a right to go through it. So neither here nor there. They talked it out. They worked it out. They moved on. But Reese was like, now I feel like my beef is with Antonio. It is. Now, personally, I don't see what the big deal was. If somebody sent me a text about somebody I just started hanging out with saying, look, girl, I know you've been hanging out with old boy or whoever. They good people, but just be careful about letting them in your house because, you know, they tend to talk trash about people when they see, you know, they see what's up. I personally wouldn't be offended. I don't think it would took me to the places that took their friendship, but I'm not them. They not me. It is what it is. They made up. Cool. Excuse me, y'all. Then we have a feel-good story. Dior, I fucks with you, Dior. I appreciate what you did. It's prom season. There was a young lady. You know how they do those human interest stories on the news? Well, there was a young lady on the news with her mom basically telling the story about how she got scammed. There's a local designer. Took like $600 from her to make her prom dress. Prom is here. She has no dress. You know, this designer has gone ghost. And now baby girl is about to have nothing to wear to her prom. Dior and his friends saw the story on the news and they all came together and got her together for prom. I mean, she had full makeup. Dior went over and did her hair. They didn't charge them anything. And it was really just, look, if I can, I will. And Dior went on to say how he had a situation with this same designer. He said he used to be a dance coach. They needed uniforms. They paid the guy. The uniforms were supposed to be ready. Not only were the uniforms not ready when they were supposed to be, when they finally got the uniforms were not of a good quality. They were not made to dance in. They were the wrong material. He said, and we couldn't get our money back and we were just stuck. He was like, so on top of the fact that I feel for them, I feel for this young lady for her prom, outside of that, I absolutely positively feel for her because I've dealt with this designer. Shouts out to you, Dior, and your friends. I think that was a sweet story. I'm glad they included it. It was great to see. Carrie D, my man Carrie D. We're trying to get Carrie D to come over and talk to us, you guys, so stay tuned for that. But And hopefully that'll be happening sometime soon. You know, Carrie's busy now, honey. He's booked and he's busy, but he's willing to come and talk to us. But Carrie has a show in Atlanta. It seems as Oliver reached out to him, and he was supposed to record with Oliver. You know, Oliver Twix. If you don't know who he is, he was on the show last week. Oliver is a rapper, and so he reached out to Carrie to do some recording. So he was already going to go to Atlanta and do some recording with Oliver. Then Oliver called him back and was like, hey, I got this show. It looks like it's like a showcase or something. I'm not sure. I don't want to speak out of it, but do you want to come and perform? Carrie D was like, duh, absolutely. And so he went to him and his roommate slash not roommate, I'm sorry, best friend slash group member, because they've formed a group called Roommate now. And before I forget, their single actually drops tomorrow. So you guys can look them up. They'll be on iTunes, Spotify, and they said it's actually available for pre-sale now. So y'all go and check them out. Anyway, because I know I am. I'm really feeling Carrie's vibe. I really am. I'm feeling the vibe. I told y'all before, it's like that old school R&B vibe. I'm feeling it. Anyway, he said he sort of felt some kind of way that he had to actually leave town to get some support. He said, you know, he didn't specifically say it, but I felt like he was sort of saying from this friend group of Chasing Reality, he had to actually go to Atlanta to get some love and get some support from the Chasing Reality family. That's kind of how I read into that. And if I misspoke, you know, get me together in the comments. But he performed. He was kind of killing me a little bit at the end with them falsettos. But I did like the song. And here's why I fucks with Oliver. Because Oliver reached out, you know, it's easy in this industry. I say this like I'm in it. It's easy in that industry to be doggy dog, you know, to not reach back and pull people up or help people get where you going. And what happened was, I've seen Oliver do this before. He reached out to Carrie. Not only did he reach out to him to record, he reached out to him to say, look, I have an opportunity for you to perform. What's good? I appreciate the fact that Carrie was like, I'm there. I'm on a plane. I'm on my way, and I'm going to make it do what it do. When Oliver came to Baltimore with the Queen Supreme Court, he reached out to local Baltimore artists, and he performed before the show started, and he brought local artists on his stage and let them perform some of their music. Now again, people who were local to Baltimore knew these artists. They were local Baltimore artists, but they weren't known on a wide stage. And you know, Maddie puts her shows on her Patreon. Her live shows go on her Patreon. So these local artists have an opportunity to be seen. Anyway, I just think it's great that Oliver did that. Shouts out to you, Oliver. Shouts out to you, Carrie. Looked like it was a great performance. Nice, cute little lounge that they were in. Cute little lounge. And y'all go grab that. Y'all go grab that single. Now, that daggone King Kane is hanging out with Rock and Womack. They are at a spot called Skivvy's, which looks like it's a male lingerie boutique. You know, they make male underwear, and you know, Kane is working on his own lingerie line, male lingerie line. He said, I'm here doing a little recognizance, seeing what's good, seeing what the competition look like, seeing what I need to come up with so I can knock the competition out. And I said, I know that's right, Kane. So he's talking to Rock, and I don't know what's up with this Rock dude. He's letting Rock know that Womack is coming, and Rock got all these questions. I don't know Womack. Who's Womack? I mean, is he real, like, feminine acting? I mean, is he? And Kane was like, I mean, and he said it's a woman, because you know, y'all know Kane is good to call everybody she. And he was like, no, it's a boy. He was like, well, why you call her she? He was like, I mean, it's just, you know, Kane, it's just whatever. It's no big deal. He was like, well, let me just let you know, don't do that to me. Like, I'm a man. Don't use the female pronoun. And Kane was like, okay, you being real extra, but all right. And then he starts asking him, so are you still running for president? So it wasn't a joke? Now, let me be clear. I love the fact that in this country, anybody who meets the qualifications can run for office. I have no issues, no problems whatsoever with Rock deciding he wants to run for president. And he said, yes, I'm still running, but I'm sort of looking more towards 2024 because we kind of didn't get everything we need to get and get in place for 2020. Okay. Y'all let me know how that work out in 2024. Let me know how it work out. Anyway, child. So they have a pretty, it seems like they have a pretty good conversation. They're talking about but they talk about the oh shoot. They talk about him running for president. What did they talk about when Troy got there? I mean, not Troy, when Trey got there. And even when Trey came there and Kane, they spoke, they hugged and everything. And it looked like Trey was getting ready to try to give him a hug, and Rock kind of stepped back a little bit and kind of gave him his hand to shake. And I was just like, what in the world? Like, aren't you a porn star? Like, why are you acting so funny? So, Trey was like, you look familiar. He was like, yeah, you probably know me. And that's when Kane was like, yeah, you probably know his work, And that's when they found out, that he's a porn star, what have you. And then, he showed him, his pictures, showed him his junk. And, Womack was kind of like, oh, okay. And he said in his confessional, I mean, I wasn't that impressed. Like, it was a nice size and everything, but, I mean, it wasn't rolling down the street, And so they got to looking at sex toys, and they got to talking about what they like and what they don't like. And, they were picking up what they needed. Kane picked up a whip. Rock picked up some lube. I mean, they was just shopping, honey. And like I said, and then Womack picked up a good old plastic penis. He said, I gotta practice. And I'm thinking, you gotta practice for what? Practice to get ready for Rock? Is that what we doing? Oh, okay. I don't know. He said he gotta practice. Oh, okay. Practice. Well. So anyway, that was their little outing, honey. So they look like I said, they look like they had a good time. Again, we had a nice little read from Miss Van Zapp. I appreciated it. Her bottom of the week was Markel. I agree. Even after talking to Markel, I agree. And then the top was T.S. Madison and Oliver Twix for what they said and what they did on last week's episode. I thought it was a good read. I could appreciate it. I told y'all I really like the Iyanla Vanzant moment. I think it's very refreshing to the story. I really, really like it. I really appreciate it. Now we get to the grand finale, honey. It is 4th of July weekend. George is having a weenie roast. You couldn't just call it a cookout, George. That's what barbecue. A weenie roast. Okay. And he asked Reese to show up early to make sure that there's no drama, make sure everything is everything, and they all on the same page, whatever. And so then they got to talking about the whole Markel situation with what happened on last week's episode when Markel threw the drink on Reese and everything. And Reese was like, George is playing like he really don't know what's going on, but you and Markel are like really, really good friends, and I refuse to believe that you don't know, that you ain't talked to Markel and you don't know what happened, or you don't know me and Markel are sort of beefing right now. But it's okay. I'm going to play along. I'm going to go ahead and pretend like you don't know, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you what happened. And so he went on to tell him how the whole situation went down, and George was like, well, look, I really did not know you were beefing, because if not, one of y'all wouldn't have got an invitation. And Reese was like, well, I'm good with that. Like he said, I can bow out. It's all good. And George was like, nah, as long as y'all know how to act, it is what it is. But I'm just saying, this is my house. I don't want no shit. We don't do that around these parts. And I said, I know that's right, George. I ain't mad at you. I kind of like George this episode. He really didn't annoy me this episode, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. I kind of like George a little bit. Because George was like, look, we don't do that over here. We don't have no noise complaints. We don't act a fool. So I'm going to need y'all to act accordingly. And Reese was like, I can do that. Like I can act like I got some sense. I can do that. So, excuse me. Golly, I'm sorry. So, They end up going down by the pool because it's gonna be a little pool party, honey, and they have, they cooking their weenies, and Dior is there. Let me tell y'all how Dior is funny to me because his affect is so unbothered, and I don't think he is unbothered all the time. I just think that is his affect. But he was sitting there, honey, and like even when they got to arguing and stuff, he was just like. And he said, Markel, I'm so surprised at you. So anyway, they down there, and everybody seems to be having a pretty decent time, and then Markel shows up. Child. The whole mood changed. Markel showed up with an attitude. He showed up throwing shade. And then, of course, Reese tried to remove himself. Reese tried to walk away. I give Reese credit for that. He tried to walk away and go talk to Durant. Durant was on another part of the patio area. And they called him back over because George was like, look, let's clear this air. Let's talk about what needs to be talked about. Let's clear the air and let's move on. That didn't work out too well. Markel and Reese got to arguing. Like I said, Markel is throwing shade. Reese is throwing shade. Markel and Reese got to arguing. And Reese threw somebody in Markel's face. And whoever that person was that Reese named, the name he threw out there, Markel was like, for him, it's a trigger. That person, it's a trigger. Reese knows it. And when Reese threw that person's name in Markel's face, baby, Markel ended up throwing the drink on Reese. But hold on, let me rewind. Let me go back to the situation. So, Markel is upset with Reese because some stuff got back to him that Reese supposedly said. Now, if you didn't see our little interview, our little impromptu interview with Markel, what Markel told us was that it got back to him that Reese was saying that the two of them were dating. And Markel was like, I don't appreciate you telling people that, and you know that ain't true. Now, of course, Reese's version of the story is, why are you listening to that person? You know I didn't say that. So then Markel threw at George, well, you allegedly tried to steal Tonio. I think, once again, Tonio is the common denominator because I think they were still talking about Tonio again. And he said, well, allegedly, you tried to take Tonio away from your best friend. George was like, I did what? He said, oh, no. Let me clear this up right now. He said, I knew Tonio first, met him, we talked a little bit, I lost interest, he wasn't my type, no shade, it just just fizzled. You meet people and it don't always end up being nothing. He said then Tonio and Durant, who was his roommate / best friend, then they met and that situation happened. He said, but let's be clear, I knew Tonio first, so I wasn't trying to take Tonio from nobody. And Tonio knew that me and Durant were friends. So if anything, he was the one that created a messy situation, not me. So George gonna turn to he's gonna turn to Markel, and he said, so this what you mad at Reese about? So you're mad at Reese about a lie that you can't confirm, just like you taking tea that taking tea about me and spreading it, and it's the same person, and it's still unconfirmed information. And just like I just cleared it up with you, you should have called Reese to get it cleared up. So you mad at Reese for something you guilty of. So anyway, honey. So again, let's fast forward. So Markel ends up throwing the drink on Reese, and Reese was like, see, I'm not going to react to that. This is not Love and Hip Hop. We're not going to do that. We're not going to go there. And Reese told George, he was like, I'm not going to cut up. This is your place. This is where you live. I'm not going to cut up in your spot. And Markel walked past Reese, so I guess Reese just couldn't resist, honey. And Reese threw the drink on Markel. Woo, he got Markel good. Like, it hit him right in his back. Got him good. Why Markel turn around and throw a chair at Reese? I said, really, Markel? That's what we doing? We throwing chairs, boo. We are throwing chairs at people. And Reese was like, have you lost your mind? Like, what are you doing? And Markel went to go pick up another chair to throw at Reese. It was a poor, innocent bystander standing there looking at them like they had lost their mind. And George finally breaks the whole thing up. And, Markel has to leave. He asked Markel to leave, or Markel voluntarily left. And Reese was just like, okay, now you see what I'm talking about. Like, that was crazy as hell. Like, you understand what the problem was now. And so, y'all, that was crazy. That was really crazy. And again, whether Reese said it or not, like the chair, really we doing that's what we doing now, throwing chairs at people? Anyway, child. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.